Good morning. Today I'm going to show you how to do a basic applique using SewArt64. First, we're going to use a shape that comes in SewArt already, and there's two ways that we can do it. You can do a silhouette or a drawing, and I can show you both ways. So first we're going to do the silhouette, and then we're going to do the drawing, and whenever I'm showing it to you, it'll probably make more sense than what it sounds like right now. So I'm going to go ahead and go over here, and I'm going to put a grid on so that I can see the size of everything, and I'm going to check my size, make sure it fits in my hoop. So 95 and 95 is what works best. You only have to change one of those, but neither one of them can be over 95. That doesn't make sense. Okay, so right here, if you change the width, it has to be 95 in a 4x4 hoop or less. 95 or less in a 4x4 hoop. So if the height is 95, then the width has to be 95 or less, and vice versa. Okay, and we don't have anything yet to crop. We're probably not going to. So let's just do a simple square. And I like to have the square all one color, so we're going to do that in the fill. We're coming over here to our bucket, and let's turn everything purple, starting with the outline first, and that part, or the middle, sorry. And then, so that's all that we really need to do. If you really want to make it bigger, you can crop it. This is how you crop it. Bring it down really close, and this makes it where you can increase the size of what you were trying to initially create. So that crops it, and then you can see how it brought it down to 66 and 66. We're going to bump it back up to 95, but there's no gaps on the side. Alright, and so with that, we're going to come over here to Stitch Image, and in the Stitch Image button, it starts out with the fill and the default. If we fill it, it's just going to, sew out that whole entire thing in the regular default stitch. We don't want to use the outline because it's only going to give us one line. We're doing applique, so it's going to come in 3 separate color changes on the machine, 3 separate screens of things that we have to do. And with something that's drawn where it's just like a line on the outside and there's no fill in the middle, it's just white, you want to go ahead and use the applique center line, because that's going to follow the line. If you use applique center line in here, it's going to try to fill the middle of this. I don't know if it'll show up. Nope. It won't even show up. Alright. So it won't work. Anyways, it'll come out really funny. So applique border is what we want for a silhouette type of object. And you want to make sure that it says satin. Because their tack down stitch on this program is a zigzag, you can't really do a bean for your final stitch, but you can do a satin and then do a bean over it maybe. But we're just going to do the satin to follow the rules today, and eventually hopefully we'll break the rules, or that'll get fixed and it can be just another tack down stitch. I'm not sure. So we're going to go applique border, make sure it says satin, and now for the satin stitch, I like the height to be like 50 or 60. Let's just go with 50. The higher it is, the prettier it is, but it doesn't join at the ends very well. You'll start noticing that it does like this little square thing because it's not really that precise, and I guess that's why you need SewWhatPro. So, and then the length is actually the separation between the, the separation between stitches, so there's no gaps if you keep them close together. And I like to go really close together because it makes it really pretty, but sometimes too close is kind of jumbles them. So the smaller the height, the smaller the separation. The bigger the height, you know, I would just bump it up to 3, but I would never really go over 4. I think 4 would just make too many gaps. So here you see I clicked right into the middle and it grabbed the whole border of the silhouette. And over here, even though we chose 50 for height, over here it still kept it at 20. So that's just a weird, funky thing. Goes on with SewArt, so you have to go over here and manually change it, and just click out and you'll see it made the ends more fat. So we are going to go ahead and file save. I like to hit save as. If you hit save, it saves it somewhere on your computer, whatever your default is. Mine is documents. I'll never look there. So I like to pick exactly where it goes. And this is going to bring up where you can save a picture. We don't really need to do that right now. So I just hit cancel. And I'm going to go straight into computer to the removable disc. And this is Applique Square. And I like to put what settings I use. So Satin 50 and 3. And that way I'll know what my last settings were in case I need to change it. If I didn't like how it stitches out, then I'll know not to use that again. You know, I'll never save these ones because I'm just playing with these, but in the future, you know, whenever there are ones that I really like, I like to keep the settings in them in the file name. Alright, so we just hit save. It saves it in the removable disc, which is your embroidery machine. Mine is a Brother SE425, and I'm going to go ahead and hoop my stabilizer, and I'll see you guys in a second. Okay guys, I'm back at my machine, and I'm going to go ahead and upload the design. It's this square here, and hit upload, and it's going to give me 3 different color changes, but I'm going to stick with the same color. And this first one is going to be the tack down, or it's going to be the die line. It's going to show us where to place our material. The second one is going to be the tack down stitch. That one's the one that's a zigzag in SewArt, which I wish it was just another running stitch, just saying. And then the last one is going to be our pretty satin stitch. So I'll show you how I have it hooped up. I have the garden fabric that I like to use as stabilizer. I like to use it to play with because it's really cheap and it's really excuse me, sturdy. So, and I have this bright green thread. Hopefully you can see it. It's going to show us where everything is. So I'm just going to go ahead and press play, and then I'll be back with you because this is really loud. Okay, I hope you can see the green die line. I'm going to go ahead and put some pretty, oops, I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to put some pretty glitter fabric because I have a crush on glittery things. And it's already cut. I have a crush on ease too. So, and this is for the second change. And they're asking for leaf green, and luckily that's the color we already have in. And this is just going to go right over the die line. Okay, so there's our tack down stitch. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and just cut around right now while it's still in the hoop and everything is pretty rigid. If you cut, Let's see if I can put this where you can see okay. Forgive the mess over there. If you cut from behind, you're almost never going to cut your material. It's just a little trick I learned. If you try to cut it from the top, your scissors will probably go into the fabric underneath, and that's really annoying. Really, really annoying. So if you're looking at the back and pulling it tight, it never does that. Alright. And it's also a helpful tip whenever you're doing, you know, felties and things like that, things that are hard to cut. Short ones like this, you don't really need to cut from behind because you can see very easily where your scissors are. But it does help to pull them pretty tight still. Okay. Let me put it back in the machine. And there you can see I'm not the best cutter, but like I said, this is basic applique. Alright, and so it's going to give us our third turn to do something, and that's going to be our final stitch, our applique. And it might look funny because the stabilizer's back there instead of material, but it generally is a very beautiful satin stitch from SewWhatPro. So I'm not going to record this part because it's really loud. See you guys in a second. Okay guys, here it is. I'm going to try to get it in some better light. Oops. So this is the square that we just made, and we did the applique border on, and the satin stitch is set at 50 and 3, so the height is at 50 and the length is set at 3. And it makes for a pretty satin stitch. I don't know how well you'll be able to see that. And that's all there really is to it. So I hope that you guys do some really amazing things with this and make some videos and show me how to do more advanced appliques. Alrighty, thanks so much. Bye-bye. Okay guys, so I showed you how to do this silhouette. I'm going to show you really quick how to do it if it's like a drawing. I'm not going to sew it out again because it's going to be the same exact premise. So we're just going to have a square. If you need your grid on, remember to go up to View and hit Grid. And I'm just going to leave it off for now because we're just doing a quick show. We're going to make the middle white. Oh, I already clicked out of it, so make the middle white so it's just got the blue outline. That's all we're worried about, right? So then we click the shapes button again and get out of there. You can also change the middle with the fill tool. If you get out of shapes and you go back in, you can't change the color. Or maybe you can, I don't know. But you can also go with the fill region. So if you need to change it into a totally different color, or you want to change the color of the outline. Alrighty, so then we just go into Stitch Image and we choose Applique Center Line. And down here we need to remember we want a height of 50 and a length, which is the separation between them. 3 is a very nice number. And we're going to click on just this outer part, and it's going to do a center line. So it's just going to keep to that line. It does what the other one does, but if we hit Applique Border, here, let's clear stitches, and hopefully you guys can see. We hit Applique Border. Oops, now zoom out. It puts the applique stitch on this part and on this part, so you're getting a double satin stitch. Double running stitch, double tack down, double satin. So you don't want that whenever it's a clear middle. it doesn't make any, well, it's cute, I guess, in some senses, but you would want your satin stitch to be much smaller if that was the case. So let's clear the stitches, applique center line 5. Come over here, let's fix this again. We want that height to be 50 and the length to be 3. I know it doesn't seem like that big of a difference, but it is to me. So there we go. Over here, it still didn't let us go up to 50, so we need to double check and make sure it says that. And there you go. And it bumps it up and makes it really big. That's all there is to it. Alrighty, thanks for watching.